Hello wonderful soulmate, or hello, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Mercy and this is Mercy Posh Stitches. So on today's in today's tutorial I'll be sharing with you how to make a beautiful gorgeous two-piece for a baby girl. And this tutorial is going to be a very quick one. So this fabric here is what I'm going to be using, the plain and patterned fabric. So I'm going to be using this one for the pant trouser, that is this patterned one. And what I'm doing here is to get my fabric for the front part of the pant trouser. So I went on to cut it out and this is what I have. So what I did here is to divide my hip circumference by 4 and add up to 5 inches allowance, or 4 to 8. So I'm making this outfit for 3 siblings and this is just one of the pant trouser for the 3. Okay, so this is one person's own. So what you see me doing here is marking out my hemming allowance. So note that I've already subtracted my band allowance from the length. So if you are going to be attaching band, do the same as well. So placing my tape on the waist part, I measured my hip. So I also measured my crotch and my knee. So the hip is 7 inches, the crotch is 9 inches, and the knee is 19 inches. Okay, so I went on to label the lines. I have my waist, that is the starting point. I have my hip, that is the next line, then crotch, the second next line, and the third one is my knee. Then I have my length down there. Okay, so if you're coming across my channel for the first time, I am Mercy and this is Mercy Posh Stitches. So on this channel I teach people how to cut, how to sew, how to neatly finish an outfit. Okay, so what I did here is to divide my hip circumference by 4 and add 1 inch to it, and that is what I am marking all the way down from the waist to the crotch line to get my crotch line, so that I can get the crotch curve. So now after marking, I um went on to extend by 2 inches. Okay, then measuring from that extension line, I am marking straight down to the hem. That is what you see me doing here. I'm marking straight down to the hem to create a straight line, which will be our working space. So from that line I marked to the folded part will be our working space. Then here I measured 1 inch, and that is what I'm going to use to form my crotch curve. So I'm connecting to the 1 inch to the 2 inches extension and to the straight crotch line. And here I have formed our crotch curve. Now I'll measure from here to the folded part and divide into 2. I am going to get the midpoint. So I'll be marking all the midpoint all the way from the crotch line down to the hem. So this straight line I'm marking here on the midpoint is the creasing line you get after ironing your pant trouser, the creasing line that appears on top of the knee. Okay, so I went on to roll this line into a straight line. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure in 0.75 here and here as well. So this is a straight leg palazzo pant. Okay, it's a straight leg palazzo pant. So it's straight leg and it's free. So I went on to subtract just 0.75 and I proceeded to connect it like this from the hem line up to the knee line, then to the crotch line. Now on this hip line, now I'm going to go down by 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to go down by 1 inch and I'm going to be connecting to this 1 inch. The reason why I didn't connect exactly on the hip line is so that it doesn't get pointed on the hip line. Then here as well, to the crotch extension, I am connecting to the 0.75 on the knee, then on the hem. Okay, so I have a lot of trouser tutorial on my channel. I have a lot of them. So if you don't understand, you can go ahead and ask questions on the comment section, or you watch my other tutorials on pant trouser. So measuring, placing my tape on the crotch line, I measured my nipple to nipple, that is bust span divided by 2. Mark it. Then the depth of my dart is going to be 3 inches, and I use half inch on both sides to connect it. So I'm going to be using 1 inch to sew my dart. So I'm going to be attaching waistband to it, and that is why I'm not touching the waistline. Okay, so here now I want to eliminate too much fabric, so I came down 3 inches and came in 0.5 inches and connected. So that is what you see here. So at this point the pant trouser for the front is ready and I'm cutting out. So once I'm done cutting out, I'm going to get the back part and we are going to be cutting the pant trouser for the back part. Okay, so if you're coming across my channel, you're highly welcome and I really appreciate you. And I promise you this is one of the best place to be, because here my tutorials are very simple and easy to understand. So why I am making this one very fast is because this pant trouser, I have a lot of them already. I think I have more than 5 to 6 pant trouser tutorial on my channel already. Okay, so I'm doing this in case of the reason why I decided to still put it out, in case of people who are coming across my channel for the first time. So what I did is that after getting another fabric folded into two, I placed the front part on it and extend the crotch, the back crotch, with the same 2 inches I used to extend the front. Then I'm marking my allowance on the upper part. This time I'm using 1.5 inches for the allowance on the upper part, and also extended by 1 inch. I extended this upper part by 1 inch. So when you are getting the back part, ensure that the back part is longer than the front part by at least 1.5 inches. If you're making for an adult, it should be up to 2 inches. So if you notice where the waistline of the front is and the waistline of the back is, you notice that the back one is longer around this waistline. So it is because of the extension I made, and I'm connecting this extension to the side waist of the front. As you can see, I'm connecting it downwards. So here I'm marking 1.5 inches, and on the hem as well 1.5 inches all the way. Then I'm just going to connect it straight all the way to the crotch curve of the back. Can you see it? So this is it, and I'll proceed to cut out. It is not hard at all, it is very simple. Okay, so after this I am going to get ready for the front, the top. Okay, the top part. Okay, so before the top part, I'm going to be cutting my pocket. So I'm using this black fabric for the pocket, and I am going to be attaching the main trouser fabric to it, so that by the time we're done sewing it, you will never notice that we use black fabric for the pocket until you turn to the wrong side. It is only at the wrong side, that is the back side, the inside, the inside part of the cloth, that is when you will know that black fabric was used. So I marked down 6.5 inches and went inward 1.5 inches, and I connected. Okay, so after connecting, I'm going to cut out. So note that I'm doing this on the side, that is the hip side. Okay, for my beginners, please, you are doing this on the hip side. So I open up this fabric and I am going to place it on it like this, and I'll cut out. So note that this thing, you're doing it on one side of the pocket fabric. Now I have this fabric for, that is the fabric we're using for the main pant trouser, and I cut out about 2.5 inches. Okay, the wideness is 2.5 inches and the length should be exactly the pocket length. So I'm going to be placing it right side facing right side on the side, the straight parts here. I'm going to place it here, straight part, so that when we finish stitching, it's going to be like this. Okay, so I'll go ahead and join that part to the black fabric. Now it's time to cut out the front part, and I have my front and the back part. So this one I am setting aside 1.5 inches because this part is the back part. Okay, so I have my desired length for the top. Okay, so I'll set aside this 1.5 inches, which is what I am using for the zipper allowance, and I'm going to set aside my hemming allowance here as well. Okay, so I'm marking my hemming allowance at this point, as you can see. And the next thing I'm going to do is I will measure from the part I'm using as my shoulder, which is this part, to my chest line. Then I'll measure from there also to my waistline. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. So after marking the chest line, the waistline, I am going to roll the lines into a straight line. Then I will also label the lines accordingly. Okay, so I will do that and I'll proceed to the next one. So this is my actual waistline. Okay, this is my actual waistline, and I proceed to connect with my ruler like I earlier mentioned, and I'll proceed to also label it. So here is my shoulder, chest line, waistline, and here is my length. Okay, now I'm going to measure my shoulder to shoulder divided by 2 and mark it on the chest line as well, and connect it to a straight line. I'm sloping my shoulder by just half of an inch, my neck width 2.5 inches, and I'm going to connect to my shoulder slope like this. Then after that, I'll divide what I have on my armhole into two, get the midpoint and mark on the midpoint. Now I'm coming in by just 0.25, that is quarter of an inch. Then I'll measure my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'm going to mark it. Now I'll proceed to connect these parts like this to form my armhole curve for the front. Okay, so I will measure my waist circumference divided by 4 on my waistline, and I will mark. Okay, then here I'll measure my hip circumference divided by 4 and mark, and I'm going to connect. So note that this is going to have that. So my dart is 3 inches, and I measured it on the waist part, then came down by 3 inches. Then I'm going to take it up to the chest line and rule into a straight line. Okay, so I am going to rule into a straight line. So I actually came down from the chest line 2 inches. That is where I want the dart to stop. Then on the waistline, I went in and out of that line, or that line, by 0.5 inches. Then reconnected and also add my allowance of 2 inches. And I proceed to reconnect again. Okay, then my neck depth, I am working with 1.5 inches for the back, for the front, and 1 inch for the back, because it's going to have a bishop collar. Okay, so the neckline for the front is 1.5 inches, and that of the back is 1 inch. Okay, so I am going to cut out, and before cutting out, I'm going to eliminate bulge here by coming in just half of an inch, and connect like this. So it's time to cut out, and I'm cutting the back neckline first, which is just 1 inch. Then I'll also connect through the shoulder slope. Then on the armhole again, I'm not going into that front armhole curve of going in with 0.25. I'm going to be cutting just the normal curve of the armhole, so that when I remove the back part, I can now cut inwards into the 0.25 I came in on the armhole for the front. So I was done, and I removed the back part, as you can see, and cut out the armhole for the front, and I also cut out the neckline for the front, as you can see. And here the front is ready. Now it's time to join the back. So I placed the fabric, the main fabric I cut out, I went on to sew it and top stitch on it. Remember, I'm sewing this on the part of the pocket that is straight. Okay, so I was done sewing it, as you can see, and the next thing I'm going to do is to sew my pocket curve. So I'm going to join these parts, placing it right side facing right side, and after joining, I'm going to notch and top stitch as well. That is what I'm going to be doing, and once I'm done doing that, I am going to show you what we have. So I proceeded to notch, then open up and top stitch on the pocket fabric. Okay, that is what you will do as well. So I was done top stitching on the pocket fabric, and I'm going to place it like this on top of here. So you can see the back, the black fabric I used for the pockets has been concealed, like it has gone inside. Then I'll measure that same inches that I measured when I was cutting, which was 2 inches, and I placed it on it like this. So before then, I'm going to run a stitch on top. I'm going to stitch on top of it, and that is what I just did. I stitched like quarter of an inch stitch on top. Okay, then I'm going to be placing it on that 2 inches, and I'll secure with my pin. Okay, like I said, I have other pant trouser tutorial. If you're not like, if you don't understand what I'm doing here, I encourage you to watch those ones. So here now on the down part of the pocket, I'm going to join it. So I'm sewing on the right side, that is, I'm joining on the right side of the fabric. On the front, that is the right side of the fabric, that is where I'm joining. I'm going to join the down part of the pocket on the right side of the fabric. Okay, so that is what I'm doing. I'm joining it on the down. Then after that, I'm going to turn it inside. So you see, I went on to turn it inside, as you can see. Then this is what we have. You can see the down is neatly joined. So what I'm going to do now is to sew my darts. I proceed to join my darts. I was done joining my darts, and I went on to sew the two crotch together, the front crotch, the two front crotch. I went on to sew it, as you can see. Now the back part, I went on to join the crotch as well, sew my dart and iron the crotch. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to place the pant trouser for the back and front, right side facing right side. I'm going to join the side with just 0.75, that is half and quarter of an inch. So I was done joining and this is what I have. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to open iron, which is what I've done. So I open iron the same line on the side and also hemmed it down. That is what I did. Now I am going to join the line below the crotch line. Okay, that line below the crotch line. So I'm going to pin on the crotch, match up the crotch and pin, and I'm going to join with 0.75. After joining, it will be time for me to cut out our band. Remember I told us we are going to be attaching band to it. So I was done joining and here is what I have. Now I'll measure what I have on the waistline. Whatever I get, that is what I'll use for the band. So I already cut out the band and my band is 4 inches or 4.5 inches, sorry. So I went on to hem in one side, 0.5 inches on one side, and I'm going to fold into two like this and notch the midpoint. Now this midpoint you can decide to place it on the center front or on the center back, or you can start the starting line of the um, band with the front, the center front. Okay, so I'm going to sew, then I will top stitch. I know most of us already know how to attach this band. So I will sew top stitch, then where both of them meet, I will join them there. So that is what I did. I went on to join them where both of the fabric met, where they ended. I joined them so that it will form a complete round, um, a kind of, closed end on both sides. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to be attaching my elastic on the back part, only the back part, from the right side, the waist side of the right and the waist side of the left, then to the back. So the band is not going to be on the front, the elastic, sorry, is not going to be on the front band. It's only going to be on the back side of the back, the waistband. So I marked and I'm going to be measuring what I have on the back part. Okay, I'm going to be measuring from one way, side to the other side, from the right side to the left hand side. That is what I measured, and whatever I get, I am going to divide it into two, and that is what I'll use to cut my band. Now let me explain. After measuring, I had about 14 inches. That is from the left hand side of the back waist to the right hand side of the back waist. I had 14 inches. Now the half of that 14 is 7 inches, and I'm cutting my band on 7 inches. Now I'm going to be placing my band on one side of the waist. Then when I join, I am going to take it back to locate this other side of the waist. Okay, that is what I'm going to be doing. So I'll place it in a way that when I top stitch like this, the band will be in the middle of the elastic will be in the middle of the band. So I'll join, then the other end I'll join it on the other side of the waist. I hope you're getting me. If you don't get, please ask question. I'm going to stitch very well, like 3 times or 4, so that it will be very secured. Then I will take the other end to the end of the band to the other end. That is the elastic waist to the other end. So I am joining as well, and I will make sure that it's neatly, as in stitched properly, so that it doesn't lose. So I went on to join, and what I'm going to do now, as you can see, if I stretch it now, it will give its elasticity, its length. Okay, you can see this front has no elastic band to it, so I'm going to top stitch. Now I'm using that 0.5 inches that I ironed on the elastic waistband to top stitch. So the first thing you're going to do is to pin round, because with the elastic on the band, elastic band on the back is going to give you a kind of stress joining. So you're going to first of all pin very well, pin round. That is what you see me doing here. I'll pin round, arrange it the way you want to join it, then pin round. After pinning it round, then you're just going to top stitch neatly on top, and that is what you see me doing here. So after top stitching, I'm going to show you what we have. So you see me joining. After pinning it, you find out that it will be very easy for you to join. But if you didn't pin it, honestly, you're going to it's going to give you hard time joining. So please ensure that you pin it neatly. Okay, so I was done, and this is what we have. Okay, so I proceeded to give it a very good press. I iron it very well, and as you can see, the front part of the band, the waistband, there's no elastic, and the back part, you can see there's elastic. You can see. So this is the beautiful outcome of the pant trouser. Now I am going to switch into the joining of the front. Okay, so our pant trouser is set and very beautiful. Now this is the front part of the top, and I went on to mark my dart on both sides. Okay, so I'm sewing my dart, my waist dart on both sides. I was done doing that for both the back and the front, and this is what I have. Now I'm going to join the shoulder of the front and the shoulder of the back together. That is what I'm going to be doing. I will join them together, and after that I'm going to show you the next thing we are going to be doing. Okay, so I was done joining, and it's time to measure the armhole line and cut out our sleeve. So I'll measure the front armhole and the back armhole, and whatever I get, that is what I use to cut out my sleeve. So my sleeve is a kind of puff sleeve. I have this fabric, and that is what I'm going to be using to cut out my sleeve. So I will fold this fabric into two. This fabric, the length is 60, so cutting it into two, I have 30 inches. Then the wideness is the wideness of my sleeve, that is the length of my sleeve. Okay, so now on one end I am going to come in by 3 inches, 3.5 inches, sorry, then come down by 3 inches. Then I'm just going to connect like this, just that curvy part of the armhole. That is what I made on the sleeve. Then here I came in by 2.5 inches and connect like this, and I'm just going to cut out. Okay, so I'll cut out, and we are going to be making pleats on both the down part and the upper part. Okay, so that is what I went on to do. Okay, so I'm going to make a pleat on this upper part, then on the down part as well I'll also make a pleat to it. Now I'm going to come in 2 inches, so a gather stitch. I'll use gathers to make the pleat, and also end it just 2 inches before the hem part. So that is what I did. You can see the down part, I made a gather stitch on it, and I measured 2 inches before I started my gathers, and I also ended my gathers just 2 inches before, just 2 inches before the end of the um, pocket. I have this strip, and I'm going to use it to turn the down side. That is the hem of my, did I say pocket? Sleeve, sorry, the hem of my sleeve. So I sew, then I am just going to top stitch like this, folding and top stitch as if I'm piping the pocket, the sleeve hem. Okay, then I'm going to pipe neatly, and I'm going to show you what we have. So this place I'm piping is the down part, remember. So now here is the shoulder part of the sleeve, and I'm going to attach it to the shoulder part of the top. So I mark the midpoint, and I'm going to align this midpoint to the shoulder part, and I'll proceed to join. Now I was done joining both sleeve, and I also joined the side. Okay, this is what I have, and I closed the zipper allowance with loose stitch. So I'm going to open it up now, and we're going to cut our collar neckline. Okay, so after opening it up, I'll fold into two like this, the neckline, and I'll measure what we have. Now remember, the neckline is folded into two. I have 9.5 inches. So I have this fabric that I'm going to be using, and I'll fold into two. I'm just going to cut out what I need for the collar neckline, and I'll show us how to cut it. So this method now that I'm going to be using to cut this collar is the best method to cut a perfect collar, like that collar that is well rounded and giving a perfect fitting, honestly. So pay attention to this. So I cut out, and remember it's folded into two. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, on one end here I am going to be measuring 6.5 inches. I'm just going to measuring 6.5 inches round, as if we're cutting flake. Okay, now I am going to measure to ensure that I have up to that 9.5 inches. So at this point I have 10 inches. So I'm just going to come in a little so that I can have like 9.75. Okay, I have 9.75 here and very okay with it. Okay, because I'm using quarter of an inch to join. If you're using half of an inch to join the downside of the collar, go on with the 10 inches we had initially. Then I came in 2 inches. Now these 2 inches, my collar is going to be around 1.25 at the end of everything. So the allowance that make it 2 inches is what I'm going to use to turn the upper part and the down part. Okay, so you see that I added allowance to the down part. I decided to use the initial line, then come down here so that the neckline, the one that goes up, the upper part of the neckline, the collar neckline, will not be too, too choky on the neck. So that is why I made that curve here. Now I'm using the initial line on the down and I mark new line on the upper part. I hope you understand. Then I am cutting out. You see the way I cut it out? See the way I curve that part? So that is the same thing you will do. So I'm also going to use the same fabric for my lining piece. So I'm cutting another one that I'll be using for my lining piece. So after cutting, what I'm going to do next is to pick one of each one of this color, and I'm going to gum my collar stay to it, which is what I just did. I went on to gum my collar stay to it. So if you have hard gum, you can use as well. Okay, and I'm going to place it like this, right side facing right side. I'm going to sew the upper part. I will join the upper part, top stitch, a notch and top stitch, and also the two sides. Okay, so that is what I went on to do, after which I hem in 0.5 inches on this part where I gum my collar stay. Okay, just 0.5 inches on that part where we'll gum our collar stay alone. I'll divide into two to locate the midpoint, and I'm going to mark or notch on the midpoint. Now after that, I'm going to be attaching it to the main fabric. Now I'm going to fold the main fabric into two as well and notch the center front. Okay, after notching the center front, this is how I'm going to attach it. I'll attach it right side of the collar, that is the part where we did not hem in, on the wrong side of the fabric, after which I will now use the part we hem 0.5 inches to top stitch. That is what I went on to do. I went on to sew it, and this is a perfect collar. Like I said, this gives you a perfect fitting and a perfect like looking. And I went on to attach my zipper at the back as well. Now I'm going to add a kind of bow tie, bow flower on it. Okay, I'm going to attach this bow on it. Now I made this bow by cutting out a fabric of 4 inches by 3.5 inches, and I'm going to fold into two and run a stitch round. I'm going to stitch it round. Okay, I'll sew it round, and after sewing it round, I'll top stitch neatly and make a kind of small opening on the center part of one of the fabric. So here I'm going to pick one and make an opening here like this. So from this opening, now I'm going to turn everything inside out. So the opening should not be too small, so that at least one of your finger can be able to enter it. Then I'm going to turn everything inside out from that opening, and after turning everything inside opening, I'll use my scissors to push out all the edges. And after pushing out all the edges, I'm going to get my fiber. Okay, so I have this fiber with me that I bought, and I'm going to be using it to fill the inside of this bow. So that is what I'm doing. I'll use it to fill the inside of the bow to give it that puffy looking effect. Okay, you can see how my bow was looking puffy. It's not looking flat. So this is how I did it. I'll push this fiber into it as much as can give me that look. Okay, so I'll tuck it into the bow, and this is what I have. So the next thing I'm going to do is to pick my thread and it kind of cover the part where I made a tear. I'm just going to cover it. Okay, I will cover it like, close it reasonably. Then I'll use that same thread to tie it on the center of the bow. I will tie it like this. As you can see how it's looking. After tying it, I'm going to secure properly. Then I made three of these. I made three of these for each top, three of it for each top. Okay, so now after that, I'm going to be placing it just the way I want it to be on the top. So you can style it differently. You can do as much as you want and style it as you want. You can style it to the down part, but mine didn't reach down part because you are going to stock in this trouser, the shirt, sorry, the top into the trouser. So this is how I placed it, and I went on to fix it. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate. So this is the beautiful look of one of this pants trouser. This is it. You can see how it's looking. Like I said, I made three of it for three persons. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up, and I wish to see you some other